78K BTC, we're still relying on Uncle Donald giving us a tweet or giving us some little nugget of news to pump the markets or dump it. So today, guys, I am actually going to be looking at almost an inverse signal for you guys. It actually is a bearish signal that could turn out pretty bullish for us. I'm going to talk to you guys about that. Then we've got updates on some of those trades from yesterday, that 𝗬𝗏absolute_ripper. And then I've got new setups for you guys, longs and shorts. We got tons to talk about here. Let's get right into it. Guys, and remember, as always, hit that like, hit the bell, and hit the subscribe. I'm here Monday to Friday on Banter Plus doing this type of trading content, and you're probably going to see me on Sundays on the other Banter channel. And coming soon is going to be a little stocks nugget for you guys. We're going to be doing it probably around once a week. We're going to be hitting a couple of stocks for you guys. Okay, here comes Banter Bubbles. Let's see what's going on. Lido getting absolutely rinsed. Now, I haven't looked at that chart today, but that is quite interesting. HBAR, what a pumper. It front ran quite a big area yesterday that we were looking at. It front ran that macro 786 and had a massive bounce. FARTCOIN showing tons of strength at the moment. Hype, we currently riding a little head short there on Hype. We got a little head short running on this tower at the moment. And yeah, all around, it doesn't look bad. I would say it's been a nice 24 hours, and we're in one of those stages now where are we looking for these bullish bounces? Are they going to give us a headline just as they drop us onto a nice zone so we can get a little bit of pumpage? So we're going to cover all of these things. Let's see where we are with BTC currently. And it's been another one of those days where we are waiting in anticipation for the Chinese to give up, or something to happen between Trump and the Chinese to just spark a little bit of something there out of the markets. And Bitcoin on the 2 hour at the moment, you can see what's going on. We are now in a clear downtrend at the moment. So we are pushing down, and the trend is down. You can see that now. And we've rejected off another tap into our VWAP and our 81.5 region from yesterday. So this was our resistance band yesterday. And what we saw happening there after that fake news pump. So you guys will remember yesterday we had some fake news in the market. We'll talk about it again shortly, but that sent us straight into that VWAP for the big rejection. And then what typically happens is you get a pump back up, and they often come and fill that wick before there is more downside. And that's exactly what they've done now in the last 24 hours. Now, what we did see earlier was S&P opening green. All those stock trades that we looked at yesterday, those have all pumped very nicely. And there was anticipation in the market that the Chinese were going to sort of just move out of the way there and sort things out. And I'm going to show you some news now, but that has caused the little sell-off that you're seeing at the moment. So what do we do for Bitcoin now if we are still bullish and we are still waiting for a little bit of action? So there's a couple of ways you can play this. Number one, let's start looking where some interesting reaction zones are. Now, as we go zoomed in on these type of time frames, we start getting a little bit more degen in terms of levels and stuff like that. But you can see initially here, we do have a VWAP reaction at the 78K region. It's not my best. It's not my my favorite zone. But in terms of a bullish region, what I like the most for me is going to be this move down to that 618 and just under that region. The reason being is I've got quite a big wick in that area there, and I've got a big wick just above that 618. So for me, this is still ideal. And this was the levels that I gave you guys yesterday that we were looking at for that bullish dip. I was saying I want to see a little bit of fear. I want to see that pullback into that zone. And if we are still bullish, we most likely hold that 618 level and those types of things. So ideal levels for me, 77K down to 76K. This region for me is making a lot of sense here in terms of BTC and loading up some kind of headline play. Now, what we can use is the 7-day or the 24-hour liquidation heat map. Obviously, the more we dial in, the less strength these areas have. But in terms of short-term liquidity, look at this guy here, 77,600 coming into play, down to just down to about 77K. So we know we've got a nice area there in that region, and that covers up this whole zone for us. So I'm inclined to lean towards a little bump into that area before we get some kind of move. So that's the game plan there to the downside. Then upside 81.5, you can see that play. And you're probably going to have a ton of guys diving in here if we do start breaking that trend. So just look out for some market maker traps there. If we do break that trend, they might come in and just trap some of those longs. So you're going to be looking out for something like this. If we do get a blow through this region, you're probably looking for a fake out there and then some kind of downside after that pump. So just watch out, 81.5, 83K. Those are the ones I'd put my alarms on there, and I'd pay close attention in those types of levels there. Glenn Goldberg says, Tribulation Tuesday. What's happening there? Who else is in the chats? By the way, let's see. Scott says, net zero isn't the new world order goal. Brett to zero is I concur. GM Liquid Lycan says GM, and hello sir. And Kimmy's in the chat. She says hello hackers, and Teddy is here banging out rockets. Okay, and Mark, hello sir. How are you? Good evening or good day. I think he's in Europe, so it's probably afternoon there for him. Okay, guys, there you go. So little reaction zone here. VWAP for BTC 78K. Let's see if we get a little bounce there, but you know where my preferred levels are there to the downside. And Panda says he's here for the shorts. Well, guys, I might be able to assist. Okay, we may or may not have a couple of bearish setups for you. Look at James nodding his head frantically there. He loves the shorts.
Still bearish. Still bearish. Nothing changed.
I was saying I really want to get to know bullish James, and he's going to be fun because bearish James is quite a lot. So wait till you meet bullish James.
Wait till things are green. Yeah.
Wait till it's green. Okay, they don't call him the meme master for nothing. Okay, let's go. In fact, the meme master actually started for me. It started because he was trading memes. I don't know. Yeah, maybe not. But
if they come back, then I'll be a happy man. That's a tall order to fill.
Bags of memes. Okay, let's go. Okay, let's get into the news. Rookie numbers again, guys. I'm absolutely disappointed. Only $230 million wrecked. Now, yesterday we had over $1 billion. Okay, that was proper numbers. That was good work they did there yesterday. 230. We back to rookie numbers again. So let's see how that goes. But again, I just always like to remind myself.
You may even get tired of winning, and you'll say, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's too much. And I'll say, no, it isn't. We have to keep winning. We have to win more. We're going to win more.
Guys, I just got to win. I love playing this thing. Sometimes I like just watch it on my phone. This is so nice. It's so nice. We were so hopeful in November when he won, but I think it's coming. Okay, just hang in there. There's a plan. Meme Master says when you get an X notification that Trump tweeted and you go to check your portfolio balance. I mean, this is literally how life is at the moment. Are we waiting here on every breath out of the market? And what also with the market is everybody is confused as hell. Look at Joe Powell here with the Fed. He's just making up shit as he goes. He's sending us in a recession, a high inflation circle here. We're having a lot of fun there. And Mia says she loves winning. Well, Mia's actually quite a degen shorter from hackers, so I know she's getting her stuff together there. So she must be tired of winning. Tesla CEO Elon Musk, he comes and apparently he's gone to Uncle Donald and he's made appeals to start cooling down on the tariff situation, but it doesn't look like it's helping at the moment. Now, yesterday you guys all saw this fake news tweet, and this one came out, obviously pumped the market. That had to do with that wick that we saw. And then we saw today now the S&P extending gains. This was earlier when we were leading into open. They were up 2%, and Zero Hedge just summed it up perfectly. What is the fake headline this time? And for me, it must have had something to do with China and Trump sorting out their current little handbag throwing competition that they're having at the moment. So amid all the noise today, markets barely reacted to perhaps the biggest news of the trade war. President Trump threatening an additional 50% tariffs on China is huge news. This means 20% plus 34% plus 50% tariffs on China for a total of 104%. That's absolute carnage for me. The United States imports $439 billion from China a year. So you can understand the size of what is happening here at the moment. So China said they will fight until the end against the tariffs. Now, that's not a good answer. And they seem to be quite stubborn about it. And also Uncle Donald's quite stubborn. So there's a lot of ego situations happening here. And this is the Chinese counter plan. China reportedly plans 6 major countermeasures against the US Major tariff hikes on agricultural goods like soybeans and sorghum. Ban on all U.S. poultry. That's interesting, James. You probably know a little bit about that stuff, but that must be quite a big market. Suspension of their fentanyl-related cooperation. Remember, the last time they were tariffs threatened, they decided to start cooperating with the fentanyl situation. Measures targeting the U.S. service trade. Ban on U.S. films entering China. That's pretty big. And investigation into IP benefits of U.S. firms in China. There's some big shit going down here at the moment. I think it just feels like a lose-lose for all the residents, basically. It's basically the population just gets the main problems here. And then in response to the tariff hikes, they vow to unleash much more stimulus. This is China, as it has every week for the past 3 years. Luckily, 330% debt to GDP. China has lots of fiscal space for stimulus. Oh, wait. I mean, like I said, I'm not a macroeconomist. I trade shitcoins. Okay, this is what we do. But when you see shit like this, like, is this sustainable? They cannot do this. So it's going to cause more problems for them in some other way, shape, or form. I just can't see it being a win-win situation.
Well, no, neither one's going to win, and they both got big egos. And China actually has an economy that they can possibly stand up. Any other country trying to fight America is going to lose. These guys can hang out for a while. It's not going to do well for either one, but China's already pulling out all the tricks. They're starting to devalue the currency. They can cause massive damage to the U.S. too. This is just a shit game for everybody.
No, it's full. It's absolute full. Okay, it gives us good news to talk about. These shows are definitely 5 or 10 minutes.
Yeah, there's lots to cover. Shit.
We definitely got way more stuff for you guys based on all this drama. It's literally a soap opera here. But this is what tanked the markets a little bit. In case you're watching the 15-minute candles and we use the word tanked, this is what's caused this little dip that you've just seen. Trump has been clear that he won't do tariff exemptions in the near term. Okay, so that's the current the situation. Market reacted negatively to that, and I think this market is so desperate to get some kind of pump, so they're kind of just hanging around at the moment, waiting out of desperation to push the buy button at the moment. So here's a little story on the shipping trade. Now, this is a long story, so I'm not going to actually bore you guys with this, but Ryan Peterson, Type Fast, at Types Fast, read what this guy has to say about the boats. If you own a boat made in China, or your company's ordering boats from China, there's fees like $1.5 million for a port call. I can't see how that's going to start benefiting people. I can't see how that doesn't affect things like inflation and all those things. Okay, so if you want to read about it, there it is, and you can follow that guy. But in terms of, let's talk Jim Cramer type things. Okay, now we all know one of the best retail things that you can see, especially like in the crypto space, sometimes I give you the open face, like, and we're talking about a death cross, and you're like, oh my fuck, it's the death cross, the world is over. Like, you know that whole story. Then you get you concurs. It's like that, basically. you get the full open mouth, okay, from me. So I don't actually mean to be so excited about it, but I know you guys like the death cross, and yeah, it's something to talk about, and you obviously get the golden cross as well. But what I wanted to show you here today was we know we've already had a death cross, or we're about to get the death cross on BTC. So we know that that's in play. That's already happened. But something that hasn't happened yet is the death cross on the S&P. Now, we know to get a death cross, it often takes a lot of selling in the market. So by the time you get a death cross forming, you tend to have been completely oversold in the market. And I don't want to say more often than not, because I haven't statistically done the maths, but I've seen it so many times that you typically get a pump into the death cross. So this might just be the start of the pump into the death cross, but we can still remain bearish on the situation. So you can see this death cross is now falling over. What is a death cross? 50-day crossing back down over the 200-day moving average, okay? And that basically indicates to us that we are starting a downtrend. But for this cross to happen, you quite often get some kind of hard pump into it before you get the next rejection. So there are bullish vibes floating around here in the market for me, and that is why I'm kind of leaning a little bit long still. Yesterday, I told you guys I was getting back into altcoins, and we had a nice pump. I mean, some of them really started ripping yesterday. You saw those stocks on those levels. We had some beautiful moves. I think we made 12% or 15% on Meta and some of those others that really started ripping. So I do believe there's a little bit of juice in the tank. Obviously, it's headline related. So what we need to see play out is obviously to hold these lows. I mean, number one, we want to hold these lows so that we can get this hard pump into the death cross. And I think that's obviously going to help Bitcoin. It's obviously going to help the crypto markets, things like that. But just a reminder, let's not get too euphoric. We can see it's an absolute shit show in front of us. And we more than likely, if we do get a pump out of this, it's going to be one of those where you might want to be taking profits. If you're pumping into the 200-day MA, the 50-day MA, and things like that, it's advisable, to take profits in those types of areas, because it could be the start of something like that on the S&P. Okay, but we'll deal with it step by step along the way. But right now, I'm just pointing that out. And for me, feeling like we could get a pump there to the upside. And Liquid Lycan says the ego trips between the two leaders is wild. Yeah, that's what it comes down to. All these deals, it always comes down to some kind of ego at some point. And 𝗫𝗍𝗃 said, who did the 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 phase? Did I really? Did I do that? And Ferdy says, we're not in the woods yet. Okay, well, we're not out of the woods yet either here. And who got liquidated on Sol? Chris, bro, that stop was too tight. Was your stop too tight there, bro? Chris, are you in hackers? Okay, make sure you're in hackers, bro. We'll sort you out with some of those things. Okay. Let's go. Let's talk stocks. So yesterday, you guys, look, we don't trade stocks often, but we back into it now using BTCC. I'm really enjoying it. And you're going to see a lot more of this from me. So I'm definitely going to be catering for you guys. Remember, the crypto guys, you're just sending crypto. And we're going to be trading stocks using USDT. We're going to 20x leverage this stuff and have a bit of fun. So those trades that I gave you yesterday and the couple of days before, Google, pumper. I've closed that one now. Meta, pumper, closed that one. Microsoft, pumper, closed that one. Apple, it's actually a pumper because all I did was write it down. I went super red. I got put under pressure there, added to it. It bounced back and I've closed it at resistance. So I would say quite a successful stock situation there. And just to recap on where we were, Microsoft bounced in our zone. Look at that VWAP horizontal. It's very simple. Stock trading. Wait for our trade. Wait for our move. Watch the daily candles. Be super patient and strike when we need to. So nice bounce there on Microsoft. I'm now out of that. So guys, we reassess. Okay, when it's higher up, we reassess possible shorts, or if it's lower down, we reassess potential longs. Right now, we're just leaving that one. Then Meta, also nice pump. I've exited that. Look at that beautiful bounce there off that horizontal. I'm now out of that one. Our next area we're going to watch is going to be 440. We'll deal with it there, or we're going to deal with it a little bit higher up, potential sell there on Meta. So no trade there just yet for me. Apple, I've closed this one as well. Look at that. We've lost our trend. We've now pumped into our trend and we've rejected. Okay, so I'm expecting another trade on Apple, probably around 160. That could be quite fun for us. A little right shoulder and then send that one lower down. So that would make sense to me in terms of Apple. So watch 160. Right now we are at resistance. So no trade there for me. And then Google, I'm also out of this one. And just really nice. VWAP bounce, 0.5, little gap fill. A couple of reasons why we were going to get a bounce there on that one. So I'm out of that. And the next trade, we're going to wait and see. Okay, there's a possible right shoulder here on Google. And yeah, we'll see. So 130 for me, support, and 120 support. Obviously, hackers, guys, I've got my long-term charts channel in there for you. So I'll update these as and when we see them. And remember, these take days to play out. So it might be another week or so before we see our next trade on some of these stocks, but we will crack on. So in terms of my stock positions, they are now gone. Okay, I've closed all of them and we'll go again. So hopefully some of you guys enjoyed this little stock session with me on BTCC, and we'll keep watching. We'll reload when the time is right. Okay, so don't forget, I am running a BTCC trading comp at the moment as well. So you can take advantage. Just go into the show description here and click on that BTCC link, and you can get stuck in with me there. Okay, let's get into the juice. This is what we want. This is the sauce. Okay, BTC on the weekly for us. Okay, here we go. 73,800 for us. And I've just realized I've sent chart hackers to the wrong YouTube show, James. Why don't you copy the link and send them the right link? I sent them to you yesterday, I think. Okay, I might have. I don't know. Okay, so BTC on the weekly, you can see what we're looking at here at the moment. This was our weekly chart. We've got a downtrend in play. We cannot get bullish while we are in a downtrend like this, but we can get short-term bullish. We can get short-term bearish. We can do whatever we need to do to ride this trend. So beautiful trend at the moment, just following this one down at some point this trend will break. At some point this trend will bottom out. And when it does, we'll hopefully be ready. Where's my first area where I have suspicions on the bigger time frame is 74 down to 69, no changes there. There is a chance that this current low that's in is the bottom. There is obviously a chance that that is the case. If not, looking for a move into the zone. Anything down to that 69 level makes sense. Lower down 51.5, so no changes to that. In terms of short-term pumps, in terms of the S&P pumping a little bit more and people getting a bit bullish, you can see there's lots of room to move here on this trend. We could even pump into that 50 before we fall over. So there is space for quite a big Bitcoin move still. There is another 10% on BTC. So that's going to give those alts 15, 20% potentially to the upside before there is more downside. So just because it's a weekly chart, it might not look like much, but there are big moves in between that we can play with. Okay. BTC, no changes there. Let's watch that one drip and send itself lower. So one of the interesting things for me that I've been tracking today is this Bitcoin dominance rejection. So this has been quite pleasing for me. So there's a couple of things we need to remind you about. Number one, this up here is a major weekly resistance level. You don't just blow through these things on the first go. So when you move into a weekly area, you can treat them, whether it's with alts or Bitcoin or dominance or whatever, you can balance the probabilities you're going to bounce or reject at those types of regions. And you can see we rejected there the first time. Now we've come and we filled this wick and we're rejecting again. In terms of dominance. So that is why these alts relative to Bitcoin are actually doing okay at the moment. There's a little bit red of dominance in the last 24 hours, and that is pushing down. So we're going to just monitor this thing. If we do get a nice push down in dominance, there's a couple of areas here where you just need to pay attention in terms of your altcoins. So the first one, guys, watch 63%. If you get a bounce 63%, that could hurt your altcoins, and then your next bounce zone is going to be about 62%, just above 62.2% is what you're going to watch, and that is where you're going to TP your alt. So if you get a really nice push down on dominance here, you're going to see your alt spiking. Sol's going to push, I don't know, we'll check it now, but 120, 125, and you're going to see these alts start popping off. Make sure you look for profits and you take some profits when we move into those zones. So 63% and 62.2% are the levels that make sense to me on Sol. And Khalid says BTC major resistance not at 70 to 73. Bro, it depends on, like, I like to go step by step. Okay, so here's some areas up here. Okay, there it is. Okay, there's the high. So, you know, it depends how you want to look at it. You can see this is a big weekly level. There's tons of weeklies here, Khalid. So 64, 65, I'd say it's a hard place to break. When it does, I'm not saying it won't break it, but when it does, yes, that's our next target. Look at that big area there to the upside. So in terms of where we can go, that will take a little bit of time for me. But in terms of, you know, I do a show every day for you guys. We got to keep moving here. And that is a resistance band there that I'm watching right now for you guys. Okay. So it just surprises me whenever I see that thing. Okay, our total 3 bounced for us perfectly, and right now still looking bearish. You can see our death cross has happened on total 3, and this is a prime example of what I'm talking about with that S&P. Look at that, we pumped into the death cross. Beautiful pump into that before we rejected on this thing. So total 3 doing what it's doing right so far. I'm bearish on this thing. No reason to turn bullish. For me, there's a rejection zone now at 800. So I would say if we get that drop in dominance, we get these alts pumping and things like that, I'm still pretty bearish on that situation. So 800 for me makes sense. You know, that is going to be our rejection zone. And yeah, unfortunately, that's a bearish tail that we're looking at then at the moment. So, and that ties in with the S&P rejecting, it ties in with Bitcoin rejecting and those things. So overall, not that bullish on alts, and we really need to adjust this meme master. Can't I get a new one with ETH at like 1.5? I mean, I'm sure we can do something there. Perota, I've got FARTCOIN for you, bro. It's coming in hot, and we're going to talk about that one. We were trying to catch a short on that, and I think there's still a chance we're going to get it. Okay, so Toshi Club says, when ETH trades below realized price, most holders are at a loss. Panic selling often increases. Historically, this marks the major bottoms and long-term entry points. Right now, ETH is trading below its realized price. Okay, so if you look at this chart that the guys have got here, we've dipped below the realized price line, once there, twice there, and now since 2018. It's only happened twice. This is now 2025. So in 7 years, we've seen it twice. Here we are. We've dipped below this thing. So I would say we can call it a mean. We can call it some kind of line. At some point, it's going to pump back to that area. So that is obviously interesting for us. So anyone who still believes in ETH, well, then we are in a buy zone according to that chart. But according to this guy, an Ethereum OG, he's moved $3 million worth of ETH to Kraken after 7 years of dormancy. God, he must be pissed with ETH. He's like, I'm so done with ETH. I've held this shit coin for 7 years. I'm sending it to Kraken and I'm selling it. Okay, so he's done. And CJ, he says, hard to watch Dill's show without smiling. Well, it doesn't matter. It's about having fun, bro. Trading is fun. Okay, and if you love trading, whether it's up or down, then we're just having fun. We can laugh along the way. Sometimes we get rinsed, but it's okay. We do it together. We have a good time. Okay, so this guy hating ETH. Okay, he's basically sending it to zero. He's told his wife he's done. He's told his kids he's done. He's swapping it for some other shit coin probably, but 3 million is now gone, and he's probably offloading that as we speak. So this is where it gets interesting for me on ETH, and this is where things could tie into something interesting. So you saw my thoughts, over the last few weeks. I wanted to buy ETH 1.5 to 1.6, and I bought it on leverage there, and I got stopped out just under that 1.5. Now we're pumping back up and whatever, and I'm still sort of undecided as to how I want to do things at the moment for ETH. But what we do know is after these types of dumps, you more often than not come back and visit those lows, or you visit those wicks. And here's an example over here. Look at that. We had that sell-off there, then we pumped up, everyone got euphoric, they came back, bang. Okay, visit the wicks. Here we go, pumped up, everyone got euphoric, bang, they came back to the zone. Same story here, pumped up, what happened? Rejection, bang. So I'd expect the same. So if ETH does push up, I'm still expecting it to come back to at least 1,400 for us. I'd be very surprised if it doesn't come back there at some point. Just literally using past information. We're just looking at what happens every time ETH dumps, and you can see statistically it often comes back to fill those wicks. So let's go with that again. So 1.4 to me makes sense again. I think we get an opportunity at some point for ETH at 1.4, maybe even lower. And Luke says we seem to perpetually visit lows, to be fair. Yeah, that's what happens in a bear market, bro. When things are super bullish, we just keep breaking new highs. Look at Popcat, look at Injective. God, those were good days, James. Those were good days.
You said thank you once. Have you? Even once?
Those were such good days. Jeez, remember that. Like you open any trade you want, it's just green, instantly green. Okay, here we go. Let's talk SOL. In terms of my game plan for SOL, bearish on SOL. Okay, looking for lower. You can see this plan unchanged. Okay, we've lost a major level. What typically happens is you get a fake out back into that level, and then they send it lower. So that is my game plan on SOL. No reason to change just yet. I do believe when we eventually pump back properly, when the market changes, when things really start developing again, I think we are going to rip through that quite nicely, and it's going to be a fun ride. We'll make sure we catch that trade. But in terms of the current game plan here, 140 looks max to me at the moment. 136, 140 for SOL on the weekly chart. Not enjoying that. I'm looking for some kind of rejection there and then lower. Let's see how that goes. Oh, fuck. Here we go. Okay. I mean, here we go. So, yes, SOL pumps into VWAP, pumps into 382, pumps into trend. What do we get here? We get 1 hour turning bearish. I dropped this onto Hackers earlier today. I was saying 1 hour's turning over bearish. Okay. Higher time frame was looking bullish. This is why I think there's a chance, there's a possible chance on some of these alts that there is a higher low before we get that proper sell-off here. And you can see, like, here's the 4 hour, and we'll probably print a higher low on some of these oscillators as well. So that is going to be the phase B. Now, that is obviously going to tie in with Bitcoin bouncing at that 618, Bitcoin bouncing at that 786. As long as we're printing a higher low there, then we should be okay on some of these altcoins. So in terms of SOL, I dropped this chart in Hackers. I dropped, obviously, multiple charts a day in Chart Hackers. This was one of them, and I said possible short on a pump through this area, tee it up with divergence and a good rejection candle. So we had a little double top there into the VWAPs here, 382 horizontal. So this is your, this is typically your head short zone where you start banging out head short. So you can see there's SOL short, Link short, similar look to it. Hype short, I think Panda actually called James, did Panda call a hype short this morning? I think he did. I saw it in the Discord. 𝗏𝗏, there's the head short as well. There's my Sol long under pressure. There's 𝗏𝗰𝗶𝗵𝗁. I'm trying to hold that long. I've got 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗃 short still. And Ondo, almost flat again. Okay, I've been adding to Ondo. I've been trying to grow this Ondo. And then that BTC short. So no reason to change that one. I closed that 𝗏𝗏. It was an absolute banger. And I thought, let me just bank that thing and see how the market plays out. So that's the current mix. And the principle is always the same. Okay, it's alts pump into an area. You look at them on the 1 hour. Are they looking bearish? Is your printing divergence on 30 minutes, 45 minutes? Is it getting tired at a big zone? If so, TP. If so, possible head short, those types of things there. Panda's going to give us a long for hype as well when that eventually works out. So what do we do now for Sol? So in terms of a pump in the market to a good zone where we get a nice rejection, there's a couple of areas here. So let's take a look at, what's this? Don't be an only fan, join the great community. What MJ, what's happening there, bro? Okay, so where can we send Sol to? So at an extreme push, let's just deal with some upside levels. You can see I've got a wick fill at this 133 to 136 on the 2 hour time frame. So that is looking quite nice for me. And I've got the 50-day MA pushing through there. So we know if we do pump hard in the market, and that is going to look something like that. Okay, so we get some kind of trend up, bang, and then we sell that thing lower down. So that would be part of that plan on the weekly chart you have seen. So if we do push higher at an extreme on the 2 hour, for me, 137 is starting to make sense here as an area to visit Sol. Okay, now what typically happens here with these other lower time frame setups is there's potentially a chance at any point where a downtrend can get broken. So you can see Sol is now in a downtrend. And how does a downtrend get broken? Well, it happens like this. Okay, you either print a higher low and then you start pushing higher. Okay, or alternatively you get some kind of double bottom play and then you start breaking that trend and pushing up. Now that can happen at any point. So you're looking at these things and you're trying to be guided by sentiment in the market. You're trying to be guided by obviously some bullish bounce zones and things like that as well. So there's a lot of factors involved there. But in terms of sorting out the tariff situation and things like that, like the market's waiting with bated breath. And they typically, if they are going to sweat you for a move before they send it higher, they typically look for these types of bullish zones. So if we are wearing bull caps on Sol, okay, without even pulling fibs here, you can see 103 to 102 is going to be your most sort of, or your first line of bull zone where you have to say, fuck, like if this market's going to hold, we pretty much want to see the 618 come into play. I would say your backup team is going to be the guys at 96. That's the lows. We're going to be super bearish there at 96. But in terms of Sol, I would say nibbling at longs here, 102. Okay, could make sense to me. Nibble around in that area. You want to let this 1 hour finish turning over. Okay, that's our 2. Let's look at our 1. Let's get this one clean here for us. You want to get this 1 hour turning over. So you can see we are moving closer to the region. Okay, so you just want to let this thing dip. When you start seeing these types of reversals on the 1 hour, that's when you start laddering into these positions. You look for a move. So the last time we saw that bullish divergence, we saw it over there, and then we got a nice little pump. So we're going to look for those things. So guys, I would say 103, 102, look around that zone on Sol, nibble around there. Alternatively, you're looking at the lows at 95. Remember, this is the ultimate game plan. We've lost the level and we are looking potentially lower down. What I want to see is a pump up. Now, hopefully that tiny little pop gun wasn't the pump. Hopefully we do get that bigger move to the upside, but that's essentially the game plan there on Sol for you guys to mess around with. Okay, so look out for that. Remember, all these charts go straight into Chart Hackers. And what did Tony say? Beat the like button. Let's go.
Treat the like button like Michael Jackson. Just beat it.
I love that. I love that. Okay, so all these charts go into Chart Hackers. And remember, if you're enjoying the content, like, bell, and subscribe. Okay, and you'll find these all in Chart Hackers for you guys. Right, let's go. Let's talk a couple of things. So FARTCOIN, and look, during the day on Hackers, I often drop setups. Now that obviously excludes our amazing team in there that are fucking killing it at the moment in terms of long shorts, all these types of things. But I drop setups during the day on some of these altcoins. And one of the ones that I love trading is FARTCOIN. And this was the short setup that I dropped in, but now it didn't hit my alarm. My alarm was at 635. I was looking for a divergence pop to the upside. I was looking for that reversal print as well, and then the sell. So in terms of FARTCOIN, I would say it front ran my area there. So 635, guys, okay, that's the high. That's your resistance zone. If you're jumping into a FARTCOIN short now, you're obviously putting yourself at risk. I'm still looking for this pump into that zone. So if we do get a sharp pump in the market in the next couple of hours, I would say look out there. 635, 64, that for me is a short zone on FARTCOIN. And the reason being is by the time we get that second pump, you're going to see a divergence print there, bang, and then we're going to know that it's on. Okay, that divergence just really gives us that extra confluence. Look what happened last time we got divergence here on FARTCOIN. Look what happened there. We had the double top and they fell over. Look what happened here. We had the double top and it fell over. So that's really what I'm looking for. We're trying to keep trading FARTCOIN as simple as possible. Obviously, in between, we're going to miss a couple of moves, but if we follow like some simple basic principles here and really take high percentage trades on something like FARTCOIN, your hit rate is going to be a lot better on it. So we'll just wait patiently, wait for these things to play out. They will come eventually. Now, if FARTCOIN falls over today with the rest of the market, there is a long zone of interest. Now, the long zone, you're going to play the same way. You're going to look for the reset oscillator or the reversals. But for me on FARTCOIN, there is an entry from 455 down to about 4.2. Makes sense to me. Look at that little region over there. So if it does start falling over, look for a bounce in that area. You can also see there's a trend up here as well that could come in as extra support for you. There's a nice wick fill zone. So there's a couple of things talking to us here from this 455 down to 42 region on FARTCOIN. Okay, so just be patient with these things. They come. And remember, when FARTCOIN comes, it rips. Okay, like they'll do 20% for you, 25%, and yeah, you don't need to get chopped up in between. We know it's one nice hit on this FARTCOIN and then you are good. Okay, so just let it play out. Let's go 𝗬𝗰. Here's another setup for you guys. So a couple of things here. You noticing now when I'm showing you these altcoins, you're noticing they all have a similar pattern. They've dropped. Now they've pumped up into resistance zones. Some of them have actually front ran a couple of resistance areas, but they all look very similar to Bitcoin. If you look at 𝗬𝗰 on the 1 hour, it looks very similar to this Bitcoin chart. Look at that, drop down, pumps up to resistance, and then starts falling over. So we can see they're singing from the same hymn sheet at the moment, and they should be reacting together. So in terms of 𝗬𝗰, the signs were there, just like all these other altcoins. You can see the label I put here. I had bearish divergence printing at resistance. Okay, so again, for me, I left the 𝗬𝗰 long open. Why am I leaving the 𝗬𝗰 long open? Because I want to grow that position in case the market remains bullish. Now, if the market remains bullish, I want to see a 618 bounce at the very least on 𝗬𝗰. If it doesn't hold the 618, we're going to get stopped out. Okay, so that's kind of what I'm looking for. So the game plan I'm playing here is bearish divergence on 𝗬𝗰. We picked that up. We knew there was an indication that it might roll over, and the hackers obviously all knew about that. I've been telling them all day that we've got bearish divergence on these types of things. And then we're looking down that type of move there. We're looking for that reversal on the oscillator. Hopefully that is going to happen on one of these levels here. Now, I pulled out the Hot Zone Indicator Pro. We've made some adjustments to it, and it's not lighting up just yet. So when the Hot Zone lights up, when it gives me a flame or an eggplant, then we know it's going to be on. And right now it's not ready. So we're waiting for this thing to start talking to me. But zones of interest in terms of the Hot Zone, 1.95. And this lower region at the moment, 1.86. Now, I'm looking for one of these zones to give us a nice bullish bounce. Even if it is a short-term bounce, I am expecting a move off one of these areas. So 1.95 and 1.86, those are the zones I'm watching closely. Obviously, you want to see the Hot Zone Indicator trigger, and that's going to tell us, you know, if we need to start pushing buttons or not. And Parata says, what oscillator are you using? Guys, I'm using the oscillator that I teach in my accelerator school. Now, we had a beautiful workshop yesterday where I gave everyone that Tahoe trade. This was a workshop for the accelerator school. And how do you get into the workshop? Well, you just do the course, and then you get invited to the workshop. And I teach you leverage tips and tricks and things like that in these workshops that we do for the course. And the course is super simple, guys. I made it as easy to understand and simple as possible that you can grasp like some basic TA stuff incorporated with some of the indicators that you see me using, and you'll be trading within 10 days. You'll be trading leverage within 10 days, and you'll be cracking on. So I did actually get where's this video here? Yeah, let me play you this. This was yesterday. This was the workshop yesterday, sir. and welcome to workshop number 2. We're going to focus on some leverage tips and tricks. We're going to look at building positions. We're going to look at how I add to positions, and I'm going to show you how to play with leverage, because you're going to be really surprised when you see that you can open massive size positions using quite a small bit of capital if you play it strategically. So we've got lots to cover. So now we've done our processes. We've identified that 𝗏 could potentially be a swing trade. How do we make sure that we can maximize our returns? What I like to do is, step 1, if I'm trying to grow a position, when we start dropping into these types of zones, you probably heard me use the phrase nibbling around, getting in small little buys on these areas. I don't get fussy if things start getting a little bit more interesting. I like to add at strategic point. In this example, you can see I've accumulated 3 entries already, and now I've got 3 more left. By the time you've gotten to this type of area, you've got 6 or 7 buys in on that token, and then you are really capitalizing on the move up to this 235 region. So, I mean, you guys saw that yesterday. I just showed those tips and tricks that, I mean, at the end of the day, I ended up using $250 of margin. You can take out all your margin. I ended up using $250, and I was in like a $20,000 position on that 𝗏𝗏. So that's what I taught at the workshop yesterday, and hopefully the guys, hopefully they enjoyed it, and hopefully they take advantage of that. So if you want a bit of that action, obviously you do the accelerator course, guys. You'll get obviously special deals with the indicators. You'll get special deals to join hackers and all these types of things if you do that. Okay. And Hamid says Lesotho agrees to 80% tariffs. So are they accepting the tariffs? So that's what's going on there. Okay, so guys, you know the plan for a bounce on 𝗬𝗰. If you're bullish on 𝗬𝗰, those are the areas you're looking at for the bounce. And let's go 𝗏𝗏. Okay, so here we go. This is it. We are moving into one of our first reaction zones now on this 𝗏𝗏. So we got a beautiful buy in yesterday. We got multiple buys in those zones. We rode that thing up. When we started reversing today, that for me was enough. Okay, we took the TP. We noted the double. Look at the double reversal print there on 𝗏𝗏, double top as well. So it was looking like things could be reversing. So in terms of bullish zones now for 𝗏𝗏, we're moving into our first area. Okay, so pay attention here. This is a hot zone. This is the VWAP here, 382 horizontals coming into play now at 198. So there could be some kind of reaction coming in hot for us here. So just look out in this area. If you see some consolidation here, there could be a nice opportunity on 𝗏𝗏 there, 198. Then alternatively, the next bull zone, 186, guys, is what you're going to be watching. And by the looks of this oscillator, 186 looks like the region where we may get that full reversal on the 1 hour. So remember the drill here and the rules. If you go lower time frame, then you're looking for smaller moves, okay? And that is what you're going to be watching. So, for example, you can see we are getting close to a reversal on the 30 minutes, okay? We're getting close to a reversal on the 15 as well. Look at that. That 15 is dropping. So the 15 minutes, the 30 minutes, they indicate, yes, we could get some kind of bounce there on the market. And then the higher the time frame that you move up, the longer it takes for them to play out. But generally, the bigger the size move that you're going to be looking at. So it depends on what time frame you're watching. But for me, like on 𝗏𝗏, for example, if you want to have a scalp play, there's the 1 hour. The 1 hour is actually saying it wants to come lower still. So when I see that, I can say, okay, well, if you're a scalper and you want to nibble on lower time frames, 198, you can play around there. Look for consolidation in that area. If you're looking for a bigger move on the 1 hour, it's going to be this 186.7 region that you're going to be paying attention to. So 186.7, watch that area. And those are typically your bull zones. Like, that's where it's got to bounce. That's the bounce now, or cut it off if we're going to stay bullish. So hopefully by then we're going to get some kind of news or some kind of announcement out of the market, and then a nice little sharp reversal there. And I'm sure James disagrees. Bearish.
Always bearish. Until Trump settles down, I'm not going to change.
He's going to miss the pump.
That's not going to happen anytime soon.
I'm going to get him to get the pump, guys. Don't worry. We're going to turn
Okay,
him.
I'll get the lower. I'll get the higher low. Until then, I'm not playing.
Okay, it's fine. He's waiting patiently. Okay, you guys, so that's Tower. Okay, that's the game plan there. So you can see why logically 198 looks like it could give us a bounce. So look out there. You're probably going to get a reaction there. And then 186 for me, that's going to be the last sort of the last place where you want some kind of big move. Now, I've got another setup that I'm waiting patiently for here. This is HBAR. It's been a really nice pumper today for you. And I'm going to actually take this HBAR trade on 𝗏𝗏, and which is one of our trading partners as well. So HBAR, couple of things going on here that are interesting to me. So number one, we know HBAR dropped into a major weekly level. We also know this low front ran that area just a touch. Okay, so we know that there's some unfinished business here potentially from an upside perspective, I mean from a downside perspective, and it could at some point get visited. Now, we don't know when, we don't know what the next headline's going to be, we don't know what's coming out of Trump's mouth, so we need to just play things accordingly. But in terms of high probability hit zones, for me, HBAR, look at the short area here, put your alarms on, 0.179 to 0.188. Look at that area here. I've got big horizontals. We know this region is weekly resistance, that area as well. That is a massive previous support. That is going to turn into resistance for us. So watch that area. You pump into that zone. You've also got the 200-day moving average. Look at that thing. Support and resistance, 200-day MA in the way. You've also got quite a big 382 fib pool in that region. So in terms of this region, for me, this is a high impact short zone. So 178 to 188, mark that on your chart, set your alarm. In fact, I'm going to set my alarm right now. We're going to stick my alarm in here. Okay, bang, alarm is set. When we pump into there, if we pump into there over the next 24 hours or whatever they give us in the market, that for me is a high probability short zone that I want to pay attention to. So obviously invalidation would be, I'd say, a candle close over 0.19. So if you close over that thing, yes, okay, then we probably rinsed on that. But for me, I would ladder in here on any strength, ladder in, and you'll probably see then it just starts falling over like some of these other altcoins. Okay, so watch that one. That's a nice play. And I'm going to trade this one on 𝗏𝗏. You can see I've preset my limit orders. So I've selected a isolated position on 𝗏𝗏. I've preset 2 sell orders there ready to go. So if it pumps in while I'm sleeping, or maybe there's a headline, it's going to go bang, bang, grab those 2 orders there. It's an isolated position. So whatever capital I'm putting in that trade is going to stay in that trade. That's the risk. Okay, remember, if you're trading cross margin, whatever you're betting there on your trade, everything gets exposed. If you're trading isolated, it's just what you're putting into that specific trade. So I've set this on isolated because I've preset limit sell orders. Don't want to wake up and get rinsed for no reason on a cross account. So that is what I've set up. So when we do get a pump, let's see how it goes. There's my limit orders there sitting waiting for me on 𝗏𝗏. Let's see how that plays out. Then I've got another one for you guys, same story. Link, can you see the pattern here? And I mean, can you see what they've given us? They've given us a classic dump here. They've given us a pump, and now we're rejecting all these altcoins into typical similar resistance zones. We've got the same look on the oscillators all over the place. We literally at that point now where it's like, pick your favorite altcoin. Are you bullish on it? If you are, you're looking for a 618 bounce, or you're looking for that double bottom. If you're bearish, well, you're looking for shorts at those resistance zones, which I've been showing you now today. We've now pumped into, obviously, some of them. And, these are your typical areas. So Link, interestingly, also front running that zone. So you'll be forgiven for missing that short. Like, I wouldn't have necessarily have given out a short just below that zone. But when we see the market start turning over like this, when we see these oscillators reversing and stuff like that, that often gives you some subtle hints where you can start sniffing around in stuff, because sometimes the market can come and surprise you a little bit. But in terms of Link, what do we do now? Okay, where do we go? So I'm sitting in quite a big Link long position that I got into yesterday when I said I was getting into a lot of these altcoins. Link was one of them, and it's a trusty, faithful mover. Okay, it's a good play. And in terms of what I'm looking for on this thing is bullish pullback, same story. So there's 2 options in play. We want to hold 10.7. This is our zone. We want to see this 10.7 come into play here for us. Bang, that must hold. Okay, and you can see our 1 hour is pushing down. We want to see our divergence, or we want to see reversal prints here, something in that region. When we get that, if it's in our zone, okay, then we've got ourselves a banger. Let's see where our current VWAP is sitting as well. Let's see, look at that. We're on a VWAP just like Bitcoin at the moment, actually. Let's see where our 382 is. Bang. Okay, so in terms of zones of interest, if Link starts consolidating in this current region, so if, for example, they put the brakes on and we start floating around like that, you're going to look for this oscillator to start resetting underneath. If this oscillator starts giving you a reset, okay, or a divergence on that level, then you're probably in for some kind of bounce there. So again, be guided by that. And obviously the degens there, you're going to be looking at lower time frames. The less degen guys, just look at the 2 hour, look at the 4 hour and play those accordingly. But for me, Link 11.2 and 10.78, they make the most sense for me in terms of reaction zones, in terms of getting a little entry there on some of these guys. Okay, so play with that, guys. I think a nice little menu in these super volatile, super like undecided conditions. We don't know if we up, we don't know if we down. I'm wearing the bullish shirt though, okay? And you saw the death cross, so I mean, it's scary, but do we pump into it? So guys, there's a lot to digest at the moment. So what I don't want to see is like you guys over trading. You know, don't get in like to 500 positions. Don't ape everything, because literally one headline is going to wreck you. It's going to hit your stops to the upside. It's going to hit your stops to the downside. And you don't want to be caught in those games. So be picky with your trades. Look for the high conviction ones, like, for example, FARTCOIN. Look how long we're waiting now for a new FARTCOIN game plan here. Just be patient. Let it come. It will come. The timing will come. Don't force these trades, and try and just stick to the big areas. Anything in between these zones, for me, it's a lot of noise. Try and focus on the big zones. Look for divergences. Just be patient. Small positions, like that sort of stuff. And when we have the right sentiment and everything's back and James is smiling again, you know, when we have
bullish.
that. Bullish. Okay, guys, good luck. And I see Yumi. I mean, Yumi's really made progress. I saw Yumi in the chats at Hackers today, and Yumi's in New Zealand making so much progress in chart hackers, learning tons of things. Yumi, so keep going. If you guys want to learn, you want to hang out in Hackers, there's a link in the show description. Just sign up, join Hackers. You'll see what it's all about. You'll see all the fun, all the good people that we got in there. Okay, James, later, sir.
Later.
Cool, guys. See you later. Good luck. Wait, I've got to find my thing. Hold on. We've got to do this properly. Hold on. Let's do this properly. There we go.